Hello, my name is Teresa Chickwitz, and I'm honored to be here and representing Betrayal Project USA. We're a victim-led organization dedicated to exposing institutional betrayal, honoring those that we've lost, and pursuing justice for crimes committed underneath the guise of public health and COVID-19. You can learn more about our work, view our victim stories, and submit your own story if you hear this video and want to tell your own, and get involved by visiting our website, betrayalprojectusa.org. You can also follow us on Rumble and BitChute and X, or just by simply searching Betrayal Project USA in Google and going to our website and linking out to our social media. Today, I have the privilege of speaking with Mike Ciccone, who lost his mother, Janet, to the deadly hospital protocols in the state of Connecticut. Mike, thank you for being here and for your courage and sharing your story and your mom's story with us. I'd love it if we could start at the beginning. If you could just take us back a little bit and tell us a little bit about your mom, Janet.
I was real close to my mom. I'm more like my mom. My brother's more like my dad. Um, she always took us to the beach. She always took us to church. She always took us to sports. I told you my dad's parents were murdered, and my mom did everything: church, school, volunteer, sports, Saturday basketball, cooking, cleaning, shopping, the bills. My mom was a dynamo. you know, my mom was the type of person, she'd be playing her music, and if the cops came by, she's like, "Oh, I'm gonna play my music as loud as I want, and that's that, and close the door." And my mom was wild. She's crazy. If my mom and dad were fighting and the cops were like, "I got to arrest both of you," she's like, "I'm not going anywhere." My mom had a lot of spirit, had a lot of heart.
She, it sounds like you guys had a pretty close relationship growing up. What would you say how would you define your relationship together?
I mean, I was sick with asthma. She looked out for me. She's really a good mom. Dressed us nice, get us to school, bring us to church, let us do sports. She have dinner on the table when dad got home from work. She was an Italian mom. Cook sauce every Friday night for Saturday and Sunday. Um, oh, and the whole neighborhood called her Mama C because, you know, in the winter she'd be the mom making hot cocoa with marshmallows. She'd always be feeding the kids who didn't have food. She'd always be giving clothes to the kids who moms didn't look out for them with the right clothes. She was Mama C for the neighborhood kids. They all would loved her.
Oh my, yeah, wow. Well, I'm terribly sorry when I heard the story. We've been seeing her story for some time. Can you take us a little bit back about what was going on in your lives? Around 2020, right before COVID happened. Can you tell me what was going on in your world and your mom's world?
Our lives are kind of regimented. Dad, they were older. They were in their 80s. My brother's been handicapped, head injured in a car accident since 1986. So, you know, our days are kind of scheduled about getting up. At 8 in the morning, would get Donnie up and get him in the shower. We're homebodies. These people, my parents grew up in the Bronx, New York. To move to Niantic and retire, this was like their home was their little heaven. We had a simple life. But
Wow.
when COVID hit, the whole house got wiped out. Yen and I were sick. Mom and dad were sick. Donnie was sick. The aides, Kathy and Jennifer, they were sick. Everybody was in the hospital. But my mom, I think it was a Saturday, my mom was like, "I'm having trouble breathing." And I kind of felt guilty because I called 911. When my mom says I'm having trouble breathing, I was scared for her that she had pneumonia or had COVID bad. So I thought, well, I should be responsible and call the 911, and the ambulance came and took my mom and dad to the hospital. It was a Saturday. But they never called me. But I took the call on Wednesday with the doctor who said, "We put your mom on a vent because the protocol wasn't working." And I knew my heart dropped to my stomach because I knew when I heard that I probably wasn't going to see my mom anymore.
Mike, can you tell me a little bit about how did you know that? How were you? What kind of information did you get before you guys got sick? Were you watching news that was telling you what was happening out there? What was going
When
on?
I when I you know, I got a good antenna. When I hear pandemic 97,000 times in 2 days on the news, my brain says not a pandemic. They're pushing it too hard, like a liar overplaying his hand, and showing me a chart of how 2 million people are gonna die and whatever. And I could judge a character when I heard that little weasel sick, sadistic Fauci saying, "Oh, remdesivir is the way to go for everybody." One size fits all medicine, and how expensive it was. I did my research. I knew 54% of the people in trials in Africa died on remdesivir. I'm not stupid. And I also don't like the news and I don't like the BS. So I've been listening to podcasts for the last 5 years since 2020. And other people were saying budesonide, hydroxychloroquine, vitamin C, um, being proactive. And then you saw how crazy they went about making fun of ivermectin, how it was a horse paste. They played that hand over well, so I knew that probably was good because they overplayed that. You know, I I'm our family's Italian. We grew up in the Bronx, New York, and I've heard since I was a little boy, don't BS the bullshitter. You can't bullshit the bullshitter, and I just knew a lot of it was bullshit. Sorry for
Yeah.
the sorry for the language you got to cut out, but I knew I, I wasn't buying what they were selling.
So that's really how. Did you have friends during that time who were getting
And
sick, or
neighbors
did
that
you
were all
know?
getting, I had neighbors that were all getting a shot that wouldn't come near me. I had friends that wouldn't come near me. I had I was working at the casino. I was constantly getting yelled at because I used to have asthma as a kid. I don't want to wear a mask. Every time I wore the mask for 10 minutes, I felt like someone was stabbing me in the back. So I had my mask around my elbow. I had my mask around my arm. I had my mask around my ankle. I had it under my chin. They were constantly telling me, "You're on camera. You have to wear your mask." I'm not wearing it. I was always getting in trouble.
Mm, mm.
I didn't want
And
to wear it. I didn't
yeah,
believe in it. And anybody who does any research, the size of the virus is 10,000 times, or I'm exaggerating, is way smaller than the fiber in the mask. That
mm,
mask doesn't even fit. That mask is laughable for a virus that small.
yeah, yeah.
And
How?
I didn't even believe the virus. It's a bioweapon. Gain of function. That virus was designed and built and structured to attack your lung tissue.
Oh yeah, yeah. How was your mom taking the news when she started hearing the New York hospitals? You guys are on the East Coast. What did you hear when you found out that these hospitals were actually empty? A lot of the times, they were saying, "Oh, we're so full, we don't have a bed," but then you're seeing photos of them actually being empty, or whole hospitals being.
We really didn't follow that. I mean, you got to understand, my parents were older. At this point in their life, they just want to make sure their son's being taken care of, watch their TV shows, get through the day. My parents are laid back, simple people.
Hmm. Hmm.
They didn't really know much about that. And the only time my mom ever got to rest anyway was when she was in the hospital.
Mm.
I mean, my dad has seizures. He's older, so she's got one eye on him. My brother's handicapped, head injured, so you got to watch his urine. You got to watch his bowel movements. You got to stay on top of things. If he's just not eating, his temperature. With those two, my mom would always say, those two will wipe you out. With those two, you got to have eyes in the back of your head. You got to watch one with one eye and one with the other eye.
Oh yeah,
If you
yeah,
love them, you got to watch out for them. Who's having a seizure? Who's coughing? Who didn't make a bowel movement? Who peed? There's a lot when you're taking care of
yeah.
older people or handicapped people.
So it sounds like your mom, even before COVID, she had quite a life. You guys were a very, very close family. It sounds like. What was, it sounds like she, even before COVID, she had quite a scenario on her hands of having to deal with trauma.
She had a lot of responsibility.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
her husband really wasn't well since his parents were murdered. When he was 35. I told you about that, and she carried a lot of weight. I In the end, I know why she was so tired. She had a lot of responsibilities for a lot of years.
Yeah, it
She
sounds
held
like
it all together.
yeah, it sounds like she was quite a fighter, just a fighting
She was.
spirit.
She had a lot of spirit. She had a lot of spirit. She really was. She loved music. She had a lot of spirit. Uh, she was the mom. You know, when we were younger, she was the mom who volunteered. She was the mom who worked in the kitchen for school. She was the mom who helped Mrs. Lloyd up the street who had MS. She was the neighbor that would greet the people who just moved into the neighborhood. Um, you know, it's funny. I meet the neighbor across the street, and she says, I always loved your mom. She was the first one to come bring us flowers and spaghetti when we moved into the neighborhood." Then the other day, I brought down Dunkin', the end of school, I brought down donuts for Aria and Alina, my friend's daughters, so that when they went to school on their last day, they had a little bag with a rainbow. They had donuts in it. And the neighbor said, "That's something your mom would have done."
Oh
So,
no,
it's funny. It makes me proud that neighbors see good deeds or things that I did. They see that they came from my mom.
absolutely, and we believe that's what was a big part of why this was such a. They robbed us.
Yeah, it
They
means a
robbed
lot.
of our person in our life that deserved more. They
It's
deserve better.
pure evil. It's
Yeah,
pure evil.
yeah.
It's pure
What?
evil because it was thought out. It was thought the lies. It's easy to see through now, but it's pure evil. There's a lot of evil out there.
Can you tell me what did your mom think about COVID, or maybe did you guys discuss it as a family? What you guys were?
My mom was laid back.
Yeah.
She'd rather watch Everybody Loves Raymond and laugh, or watch a movie on Lifetime, or put country music on and sing, or my mom was had a really good heart, a really good spirit, and
Mhm.
she didn't play. She wasn't ever a person to watch the news or pay attention to that kind of crap.
Mhm. Mhm. Which
She'd
actually
rather
is
she'd
probably right.
rather she was someone who would rather watch TV or something, a comedy or laugh, or
Yeah.
Everybody Loves Raymond, or All in the Family, something, the Golden Girls. She wants to watch something and laugh. Some of the best times when me and my mom would watch TV or Seinfeld, and we would laugh out loud, just laugh.
We still do that here at my house. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it sounds like your mom was a very common sense kind of a person. Let's say before COVID, how would she treat just getting ill? Like, what would she do for your kids if you guys were dealing with some
Oh,
sort of?
my parents were old school. You're gonna sweat it out of you. You had a cold, rub Vicks on your chest and put three sweatshirts on you. You little son of a gun, you're gonna sweat it out of you. You know, um, Make a hot toddy. Mom, she just was really good. I had
Mm,
asthma as a kid. I was sick as a kid, but they could in the winter when the air was fresh and cold Canadian air. I'd be the kid running down the street to the bus stop with no hat, no gloves, no coat, because I love the cold. I could breathe,
mm,
you know. But she still would take me to. She would still let me play sports and basketball and baseball. Sometimes I couldn't quite keep up because I had an asthma attack. But I had my inhaler, and they would try to take my inhaler away from me, say that I abused it. But I learned to lie and say I lost my inhaler, and I always had one stashed.
mm.
Because for me, I wanted to keep I didn't want to be the weak, wheezing, skinny kid. I wanted to level the playing field. So if I had to lie and take two puffs off my inhaler, so be it. Game time, time to play.
So when doctors were telling you personally that no, you need to take an inhaler in order to live life and live a fruitful life, you already had determined. Wait a minute, some
No, they
doctors
would
don't.
take. Listen, they were taking it away from me. I used to get shots for what I was allergic to, but every month I'd see Doctor Spicaucci. Every month I'd have to see the big doctor. He was this big, tall doctor, kind of dark skinned, looks like Abraham Lincoln. And they would always notice, "Hey, why is your throat so red? Let me see your inhaler." And they would talk to my mom and say, "Hey, Jan, I just prescribed that inhaler last week and it's almost empty." Then they would look at me, some wise little wise guy, 7, 8 year, 10-year-old. Well, hey, how often are you using this? I'm like, "Pff, I use this thing every baseball, basketball, football, hockey, and swimming season. I use this every time I have to level the playing field so I can breathe and play. I don't want to be the weak, wheezing, skinny kid who they say Mikey's in his room because it's too hot to play baseball. So I
Yeah.
would use my inhaler. And then when they took it away from me, I learned to say I lost my inhaler, so I still always had one or two.
Mm,
I mean,
mm.
you know how kids are. They're resilient. They know how to make they know how to, I don't know what's the word I'm looking for. They know how to, to get around stuff.
So you were kind of already figured out that there was other stories that were going on outside of the medical protocols that were existing. You found that there's maybe natural ways or natural immunities, ways to recover from things such as asthma. You found that there's
Well,
different
it's
ways.
funny. They want you to be the. Do you know how the pharmacy and the doctors are? They want you to be that weak, wheezy, skinny kid that gets the inhaler and the prescription and this and that. But you know what I learned? I learned when I started working out and started getting stronger and started lifting weights and started playing basketball, the more I got physically fit, the more I kind of outgrew my asthma and overcame my asthma. You know how the system is. They want to keep you sick on a prescription.
Ah, okay. That's what yeah. So you had
But
already
the more I played basketball, and whether I used my inhaler or not, the more I played basketball, the more I worked out and got stronger and more confident and built up my lungs. All of a sudden, asthma was going away from me.
so
Again,
let me
yeah,
ask you this, Mike. Oh, go right ahead. Sorry.
that kind of that kind of made me, as I outgrew asthma and did what I wanted and not listen to them. They wanted me to stay home and be weak and take a prescription. I wanted to use the inhaler whether I was supposed to or not and still play. So as I got stronger, as I got more confident, as I did things on my own, as I didn't listen to what the doctors were telling me, that led me to be the type of person who don't want the mask, don't want the flu shot, don't want the COVID shot, and I don't care what any doctor says because I believe in God. My mom took me to church. God's the ultimate physician. Jesus is the ultimate physician. These doctors, they're clowns. They're practicing physicians.
Yeah.
That's why they tell you take this medicine. Oh, it doesn't work. Try this. Oh, it doesn't work. Try this. Oh, 50 milligrams don't work. Try 100. They're pathetic.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're
So
more worried about being, I'm a doctor and I can go out with this pretty woman and I can have the woman on. They're more worried about their ego and their status and I'm an MD. They're not worried about. If they were really worried about people, they would go still be visiting you at your home.
So what did you think about when you heard that hospitals were administering a protocol which involved laying on your back and not moving with a respiratory illness such as with COVID? What did you think about that?
I really didn't. It happened so fast. We're trying to get through the day with a handicapped son and elderly parents, and we're working nights. See, we got to understand too. Yen and I lived in Texas and Florida. I built houses so my mom and dad could come visit me. It got to a point when we were in Texas, my mom and dad called me. My dad called me and said, "Hey, we can't. We're having trouble taking care of ourselves, and we're having trouble taking care of Donnie, my brother." So I slept on it. I knew I had to come home, and in the morning, in Texas, I said, "Yeah, and I love you, but my mom and dad need me to move to Connecticut to help them." And she said, "I love you. I'll go with you." So we moved here. The point of that little short story was, when this COVID stuff was going on, Yen and I were working the night shift, 9 o'clock at night till 5 in the morning,
Wow.
so that we could be home and keep an eye on things during the day, make sure everything was smooth and safe. Mom and dad were walking, getting in the pool. Donnie was doing his therapy. Donnie was doing the right. And then, when they're all ready to go to bed, here we are going to work. So it was hard because, when I should have been sleeping, my parents are elderly, they're in their 80s. They don't know not to bang or make noise, or my dad's got the TV on 80 volume. I'm trying to sleep. or they're telling me the TV don't work, fix the TV. It's like 10, 11 o'clock. I just got to sleep at 7 in the morning and the neighbors blowing and cutting the yard. So we were sleep deprived, working 9 o'clock at night till 3, 4, 5 in the morning at the casino. And still, I had fires to put out, responsibilities, get them to doctor appointments. And it wasn't easy.
I don't know. And
And
so,
sometimes there was arguments and fights, and my mom wasn't really at the end. My mom wasn't reasonable because she had aspirated on the Xanax, so she really was more argumentative and belligerent. Sometimes she would cause problems, or she'd be trying to make Donnie's oatmeal, and I'd turn the bowl over. I'm like, Mom, you nuked the microwave all the water out of the thing. It's like trying to eat glue. You're gonna choke him. It got difficult at the end.
yeah, yeah. She's 84. She was 84, right? When she died?
Yeah.
When she was killed, I should say, in the hospital. Yeah. So can you tell me, did you get COVID, you and Yen, before your mom started?
The whole house got wiped out at once.
Okay.
It was amazing. It was like, I don't even know how fast it was unbelievable. Me, Yen, Don, and it was really bad too because Yen, my fiance Yen, she was kind of blaming me. You know, she's a sweetheart, but I got it first, and then she got it, and Donnie got it, and Kathy got it, and Jennifer got it. My mom and dad were next, and she was like, you because of me, but you don't wear your mask. You brought it home. So I kind of got blamed.
Mm, mm,
But really, I'm telling you, within a few days, everybody who was in this house had COVID.
yeah,
I mean, that was one nasty bioweapon, and I mean, everybody had it.
yeah. How did you guys? How did you get through it in the house? What did you predominantly do to recover from it?
You know, mom and dad. Well, Donnie and the aides all went to the hospital first. And then mom and dad were telling me they had trouble breathing, so they went. And then me and Yen had it, but me and Yen had to be the response. We were the one they called. Hey, can you come home? So Yen and I never even went to the hospital.
Mm,
There's another reason I knew everything they were telling me was BS because to me the COVID was just like a really bad flu. But I mean, it was a bioweapon. It was engineered to attack your lung tissue. You couldn't smell. You couldn't breathe good. Uh, I was nauseous. I lost a lot of weight. It lasted for a couple weeks. I know from research and watching my podcast that that COVID strain was something to have to do with snakes and some kind of venom.
yes, I think Dr. Brian Artis goes through that, right?
Yes,
They
yeah, you
derive.
got that. So
Yeah,
and that's why the people who smoked did a little better off because nicotine kind of blocks that snake venom.
that's
So
it.
again, their lies. The truth always eventually bubbles to the top, and that's going to happen. And those people who lied and caused and did all this stuff, they're going to face their judgment in this lifetime and the next. It's their time will come
Yeah.
sooner or later.
Absolutely. So your first, it sounds like your other members of your family got sick first. They went to the hospital, but they able to get out quickly and then return home? What was the status with them?
It happened weird. Donnie was in the hospital a few days and he came home. Jennifer was in the hospital. One of the aides that came home and was quick to help Beck come back and take care of Donnie. My mom and dad went in. Dad was not too bad of symptoms. They sent him to another hospital to do that walk and do therapy. Yen and I never went to the hospital because we had to stay home and take care of and be responsible. And, we got through it. We stuck together. We drank water. We watched out for each other. We sipped tea and sipped water and tried to have liquid nutrients. And after like 12 days, finally, I was in the shower and I could smell coconut. I'm like, I'm back, baby. I knew I was getting better because I could smell.
Yeah.
And then I started eating slowly, but I had lost 17 pounds. But, um, Honestly, those times were like a blur. When you're not sleeping and everybody's sick, and you got, you're checking on your dad, you're checking on your mom. It was rough. It
What
was rough.
what would you have expected the hospitals to do in your mind, before you figured out what they were actually doing in there? What would you expect them to send, your family members home with, or to do and help? How did you expect them to treat COVID? Or did you guys have any thought to that about?
I honestly, I remember telling the hospital, don't ever use remdesivir, and they're not organized. The hospital, they have their own way of doing things. Um, but I also thought Connecticut being a more modern state, better doctors, maybe. I didn't think they'd be as bad. I really didn't think they would use the same kind of protocols as the whole country or whatever. Like I said, we all were sick, and I was trying to be responsible, and I had, I'm spread thin when it's me, Yen, Donnie, Daddy, my mom, and three aides that work with us every day, all sick. You know, it was hard to think straight, let alone foresee problems that were going to come up. Your whole life, you think if someone goes to the hospital, they're going to come back better. You know,
Yeah, well, that's the purpose
You-
of the hospitals, right? Is to handle with care,
they
right?
had their plan. They had their plan, and they had their protocol, what they were going to do, and they had made their mind up what they were going to do. And bottom line too, like my dad always says, nowadays money rules everything, and money is the driver of everything. And the hospitals were incentivized to put a vent on you and kill you.
Wow,
Sorry.
wow.
And it's almost as if they did it to older people, like they don't want to pay them their social security. It's just craziness.
Yeah,
What
and
would,
we
like,
do.
older people are not worth it? All the wisdom and everything older people have. You want to just put them in the hospital and silence them?
Yeah,
I mean, the mask is a way of silencing you. The
yeah.
vent, and we all know the masks don't work. The vent is a way of silencing you. It's a way of isolating you and silence you, isolating you and silencing you. It's evil.
It is. So she was taken to the hospital by ambulance, and then did you told them not to give him remdesivir?
I
What
remember calling the
happened then?
hospital, and yeah,
Yeah.
calling the hospital saying, you know, I really don't want to use the vent, but if oxygen helps her, she's saying she's having a hard time breathing. But one thing I know is that remdesivir is a deadly drug. There's so many other options: hydroxychloroquine, but budesonide, vitamin C, Z-Pack, zinc. So please help her breathe and keep her comfortable, but stay away from that remdesivir. That was like on a Saturday or Sunday.
How did they respond to you when you asked
They
for
they, they, they,
ivermectin?
they, 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 they they made it sound like they were taking notes. They made it sound like they were listening to me, and then I heard nothing. And then I remember my dad. They called me. Your dad doesn't have big time COVID systems. We're going to send him here in Old Saybrook. Fine. Then the next thing, my mom was calling me, and I knew my mom was fine when she called me like on a Monday and said, "Where's Daddy? Where's Daddy?" She always talked like that. "Where's Daddy?" I said, "Dad." They took Dad to another hospital. He wasn't as sick as you. They sent him to Old Saybrook so he could walk and get up a few times. He didn't really have bad COVID symptoms. Don't lie to me. Dad's fine, Mom. I'm going to probably go visit him or see him tomorrow. I promise you. I'll send a picture. I'll take it. I'll let him. You talk to him. She said, okay, okay. So I knew she was fine. That was like on a Monday or Tuesday. By
Mm.
Wednesday, her doctor was Dr. Goldberg, but Dr. Donka called me and said your mom wasn't doing too well to the protocol, and we had to put her on a vent. And I'm like, what are you talking about protocol? He goes, the remdesivir wasn't working well for her. I said, I told you not to use it. And of course the remdesivir isn't working well. 54% of the people that take remdesivir in a study in Africa died. Everybody knows that.
Wow.
So,
So
but when I
when
but
did
when
you
I
hear?
heard that, listen, when I heard that, my whole world turned gray. Because now, now I can't relax. Now, whether I'm getting better or not, I know that my mom's in trouble.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, my mom was really close with my cousin Lily because my mom always wanted a daughter. She had two boys, as you know from that Bronx Zoo picture. And Lily was really close to my mom. And I can still hear my mom saying, my Lily, my Lily. I always wanted a girl, my Lily. So I knew I didn't want to get in any trouble or choke any doctor or be out of hand with a doctor. So Lily came with me the last few days. My mom wasn't. They told me if your mom doesn't make a miraculous recovery, she's gonna pass. And I knew from the minute I heard the remdesivir protocol, I knew I wasn't. My mom wasn't gonna go home. But like I told you before, my mom didn't want to go home because I remember when I used to go visit my mom in the hospital. I would bring her. I had poster cards, and I would flash them because she clearly couldn't talk to me with the mask on. So I would
Mm.
flash the cards, the red one, green, blue, violet. Daddy's home. Me and Yen beat COVID at home. Donnie's home. Jennifer made it home. Kathy's getting out of the hospital. And then the last card would be her. I'd say, Mom, you got to be selfish. You got to get better. And she'd shake her head and point up like, I'm not coming home. She didn't want to come home. My mom wanted to check out.
She knew her real home is what you're
My
talking about.
mom, I had told you, my mom for 3 years, with my dad's parents being murdered, with my mom's own brother coming home from Vietnam and killing his own mom, my mom's firstborn son being in an accident. My mom had been telling my dad for 3 years, I can't take another day on earth. I can't handle the stress, the anxiety. I'm tired. I want out. And so what they meant for evil, God flipped for good. And she deserved, if anyone deserved to go home to heaven first, it was my mom.
Mm. How
No,
many
huh?
how many days was she in the hospital for, Mike?
No, I'd say 3 weeks. She'd have been 2 weeks on the vent, but they made her suffer more. They said you were going to give her an extra week on the vent, and in my mind, they gave her an extra week on the vent to bring a bigger hospital bill.
Mm.
There was
Mm.
no reason to keep her another week on the vent. She was long gone with that remdesivir.
Mm. Do you know any other medications that she was given in while she was
I haven't
venting?
had the heart to open up those records, but I know that cocktail was given to her. That
Mm.
cocktail of medicine to the heroin, the morphine, the this, the that, the fentanyl. I know that she had fentanyl.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Whatever that recipe, that concoction was to silence you, to keep you in that zone where they wanted you, where you didn't get to eat and you weren't any trouble and you were medicated, and they kept her in that zone because once that protocol remdesivir, it was over. I knew in my heart. You know how when whether you want to feel it or know it or admit it. I knew I wasn't gonna get my mom to come home from the hospital out with me. Not only because of what they were doing to her with the cocktail and the remdesivir, also because my mom, when I showed her, Mom, you got to be selfish. You got to come home. She'd shake her head no and point up like, I'm not coming home. I'm checking out. Because my mom had been telling my dad for 3 years I want to go home. She kind of gave up. My mom had a strong spirit and a strong will and loved life. But when she's tired, she wanted to check out.
Wow.
And
So
they made it easy to check out.
so you had really this sense of something was wrong. You knew the end of life was near. She knew it was near. You told them no remdesivir. All of a sudden, you're getting calls saying, "Oh, the remdesivir is not working. Her organs are shutting down. We got to vent her." What?
I knew it was all. I knew it was. My heart sank. I knew that was the worst. That was the one thing in my life I never wanted to hear, and it
Wow.
was something I heard on a Wednesday morning, and
Wow.
I knew from that point on it was lights out.
Yeah.
I just knew it. My heart sank. It was horrible.
Wow.
I'll
Do
never
you
forget that.
no.
What could I do?
Yeah. You couldn't.
Then it hurt more because I hadn't had the chance to think about all the things like her wanting to leave, how tired she was, what she had been telling my dad for 3 years, me having to live the life she lived, watching out for both and be responsible and cooking and cleaning and the bills and the pool and the yard, you know.
Did they tell the family or you any of the dangers of remdesivir and that it was an
They didn't. They didn't listen. They didn't say boo.
yeah.
They didn't. They didn't. As far as what's that word they're supposed to use? What's that supposed? What's that? They're supposed to tell you stuff. What is that called?
Informed consent.
Yeah. They listen. I didn't hear boo from that hospital.
Wow.
I didn't hear anything. I told you, the first time that hospital called me, she was checked in on a Saturday morning. The first time I ever heard from her doctor or that hospital was, and I can still hear it. This is Dr. Donka. We just put your mom on a vent. If I didn't put her on a vent, she would have been gone already. The protocol wasn't working. What protocol? The remdesivir. I said, I told you not to use that. Everybody knows that's a deadly drug. That was the first time I ever heard from the hospital on a Wednesday afternoon when she was brought in on a Saturday morning. Come on.
Wow. Wow. So they had 4 days to do what they will with your mom without informing you and getting your consent.
I honestly, it's you get torn because I wish I would have just kept my mom home drinking the hydroxychloroquine with me. Well, I don't even know if she would have drank it, but when she said I'm having trouble breathing, you think I got to get her to the hospital. I didn't think. I honestly, I was sick too, and I didn't think that a Connecticut hospital that would be doing the protocol too. And I don't know. It
You
happened
know
real
what?
fast.
It's a logical thing that people should be able to take their parents to your USA hospital, especially in Connecticut, to receive care. It's a very it's
To receive responsible care and not a protocol. People are individuals. People are individuals. You can't just say remdesivir for everybody.
yeah,
Some people need vitamin C. Some people need budesonide. Some people just need rest. Some people need to be hydrated. I mean, if you gave a person an IV and hydrated them, and maybe put them on a little bit of oxygen to help you breathe, you
yeah,
could help them get their strength back and fill them up with vitamin C and liquids and vitamins and minerals and gently guide them back. Make sure take an x-ray, make sure they don't have pneumonia. I mean, what's this big rush, this big push to get them on a vent and to pump them full of drug that remdesivir, an expensive drug. You want to use expensive remdesivir that has a proven failing record. Why wouldn't you use cheap hydroxychloroquine and ivermectin that has a great record? I mean, it's so ridiculous. You can't even believe it. It's pure evil.
Can you tell me? Sorry, you had an encounter where you went into the hospital after some days. She was there almost 3 weeks, as I understand. But you went into the hospital at some points, and you were able to interface with your mom. How
Yeah,
was she? And
they
what
let
did
me
you?
visit.
Yeah, what did you
They let me,
observe?
you know, the hospital staff was kind of too friendly, like they were, oh, I just gave her a shower and this and that. But they seemed scared of her, like avoiding her because maybe she didn't have the vax. Like I told you, whenever I came out of the room without taking off all my gown and mask and gloves and boots and harnesses, whatever, they were always yelling at me, "Oh, you're supposed to take all that stuff off inside." I'm like, don't give me attitude. Who the hell are you yelling at? Yeah, I didn't know. Nobody really explained it to me. And then, by the way, are you more worried about me making you sick, or are you more worried about my mom? Which is it? I didn't like their attitude, and I wasn't going to take no crap
Yeah, yeah,
because I was the person who didn't have the vax and didn't want the mask anyway, and
yeah.
didn't want remdesivir too. And I kind of seen what was happening.
Hmm. Hmm. And so you were kind of
She did
maybe,
seem she seemed comfortable,
yeah, yeah.
but
Uh,
then she seemed normal when I talked to her on the phone, and she says, "Where's Daddy? Where's Daddy? Don't lie to me." I said, "Dad's fine." I went to another, but then there was the next day that they called me and said, we put a vent on her. If we didn't put a vent, she would have died an hour ago. The protocol's not working. But when I heard that, I just knew it was like a gray screen, a black screen getting pulled right over your eyes, and your heart sunk, and your stomach sunk, and you swallowed your own Adam's apple. And I was like, "That's it. That's
Really?
what I never wanted to hear that, and I can't unhear it. And no matter how many times I go visit, this is not going to end right."
And so the last time you spoke with your mom was probably where she was asking about daddy and before she was vented. Yeah.
That was on the phone, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
and then then from then on, once that call came, every time I went, she was sleeping. She was drugged. She was out. She was waiting to die.
Wow. Wow.
The
Did
doctors would always say, "My hands are tied. Yeah, unless your mom makes a miraculous recovery, we're gonna have to, disconnect."
how does it make you feel, Mike, after knowing just what you just said about the doctor saying, "Hey, there's nothing we can do," and then you hear doctors like Mary Tally Bowden say they didn't lose one patient who administered ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine to all her patients. How does that make you? What do you think about that?
It blows my mind that you got real doctors that care about people in life and are open minded, and then you got doctors like my mom's doctor and that wing and that hospital that just do as they're told. And I mean, isn't that why a lot of nurses quit? They saw what was going on.
Yeah. Nicole Siratek, I think she went before the Senate, right, to say they're killing all my patients.
Yeah.
Hmm. And so you identified the moment where everything hit you like a ton of bricks of, the realization of what was actually happening when you received that phone call from the doctor saying the protocol is not working. Is that right? That was the moment when you
When
said,
I heard that, I knew my worst fears were right there.
yeah, yeah. Did you think, of course, at that point she had been vented when you got that phone call, or that was before she was vented?
He said, "I just had to put your mom on a vent. If I didn't do it, she would have died an hour ago. I had to do it. The protocol wasn't working." And I mean,
So he didn't even ask you to be put on a vent if it was okay to be
that's
put on.
why I said it was the worst thing I could ever hear, because it was already done, and it was already too late, and it was already your worst fears, and it was telling you late. And you had been so busy trying to get better yourself, home with Yen, and get dad and pick him up and get your brother settled and then get the AIDS back for your brother. You were running in nine directions, and you were sick, and were sleep deprived. Y- I don't want to admit it, but I didn't stand a chance.
Wow. Wow, Mike.
And
This is
then of
just
course, and you're gonna feel a little guilty. You're the
wow.
one who called for the ambulance.
Wow. And there were we estimate 1.6 million people that died of hospital protocols similar to what happened to your mother. Same story. We call them the 25 tactics. Down at the bottom, you'll see some of those. Almost every story has the majority of these that happened, and
Because
almost
it
like
was
clockwork. Yeah.
Yeah, because it was planned out.
Yeah.
You
Wow.
had other lies in a row,
Yeah.
the same narrative.
Wow. It was just a tragedy. Somebody who was so full of life, who was a fighter, who, believed in just, getting well, taking vitamin C. You told me she wanted you to sweat it out. And then all of a sudden she's being forced these drugs that are known to kill and being put on a ventilator.
Older people too. They're quiet. They're tired. They've been watching the news their whole life. They think the news tells them the truth. They go to the hospital. They come home. They're fine. They think the hospital, everybody's there to help them. Older people are more accepting and trusting.
Yeah.
She
And we
probably
should
got
we
she you
should
know she probably got into that ambulance to go to the hospital like a lamb being led to slaughter.
wow, wow. It's just a tragedy, but we do know that because of people like you, because of your family, that your mom's spirit, you carry a lot of your mom's spirit, the fighting spirit. So kind of just talking a little bit about, tell me what happened the day that she died. How did your family take it, and tell me a
Yep.
little bit about how everything, her leaving the hospital.
It was hard because uh, it was hard on me because I had to be the one to go. My dad was 87, 88, and still weak from having COVID. My brother's handicapped. I wasn't going to bring my brother in a wheelchair into the hospital. I couldn't bring my dad in there. I can't get those two to put down the gown and so I had to go do it alone. Then when I had to come home, I had to be one to tell them, Mom moved on to heaven. You know, they they didn't even get to see her
Wow, wow.
because
Yeah,
they were sick and they were home. My brother's handicapped, so I wouldn't say lie, but I had to put a good spin on it.
yeah, your damage control, right? Your
Yeah.
damage
So
control.
so 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 when I came home and had to tell them, I told the truth, but I kind of played it up where Mom. I told them about the cards. I showed them the cards I had. Don, me and Yen beat COVID at home, and I showed them Mom's card. I think it was the red one. Mom, you got to be selfish. And Mom's like, I'm not coming home. Mom wanted to move on, and and my dad knew that wasn't a lie because my mom had been telling my dad, Donald, I can't take one more day on this earth. I can't handle the stress. I can't handle the anxiety. I want to move on.
Yeah.
And so, I just told him, mom made me promise to take care of dad and Donnie. Mom was very peaceful and calm, and she told to tell daddy and Donnie she loved them and she wanted to move on. And what could I do?
Of course, of course. So you've had to pick up a lot of the pieces of the life that was there with your mom before. If I were to ask you, if you could think about what the biggest impact now after having lost your mother on your family, on you, on your, can you tell us a little bit about that, about how your family is operating now, the biggest impact from losing your mom?
I mean, everyone misses my mom, but everybody also knows she was real tired and she had had enough. She had been through a lot, you know? She was a
Mm,
little girl. Someone in the family touched her and she didn't complain. She said this happened, but she didn't want to get him in trouble. She rose above it. When my dad's parents were murdered, she helped him. She picked up the pieces. She did the cooking, the clock shopping, the cleaning, everything. She rose above it. When my mom helped raise her brother. My Uncle Frank lived with my mom and dad when they lived in New London before he joined the military, was in the in the Marines. When he came home from Vietnam and killed his own mom, my mom still sent him hard candies and wrote him letters and forgave him, even though her brother killed her mother. She rose above that. As much as everybody misses my mom, we still celebrate her and talk about her every day. I have her prayer card around my neck. I wear almost every day when I go out. If I go to the beach or I go to the park or I go swimming or I go to the gym, most days I have my mom's prayer card around my neck because I want her with me.
yeah, she was a
Her,
beautiful soul, and it was a tragedy that of what they did in the hospital, administering these dangerous things, not getting your consent to put her on a ventilator, not allowing, a final proper, goodbyes, which were due.
she didn't
Um,
stand. She didn't stand a chance in there.
wow,
But
yeah,
I told you before we started this interview, what they meant for evil, though, God turned towards good. Because my mom wanted to move on. She'd been wanting to move on for 3 years. and she probably would have suffered it with a rough life and pain and suffering and not feeling good, and that she couldn't handle the stress, and her Xanax, her medication, and doctors weren't really helping her, and she could go to dialysis, and her knee and her back bothered her probably from lifting and transferring my brother. She was very, very, very tired at the end, and what they meant for evil to take her out, she got to go home, and she, if anyone deserved to go home first, it was my mom. So I mean,
Wow.
I always say it's biblical, and as much as I miss my mom and I want to laugh and hug her and kiss her and cook with her and watch TV with her and laugh, she wanted to go, and so you know, I got to be happy for her. She wanted to exit Earth, and she did. And you know, another thing, I didn't want my mom to suffer and watch my dad get older and start walking hunched over. And I didn't want my mom to have to suffer seeing my dad be 89, 90, 91, 92, you know, and declining rapidly as he ages. She didn't need to see that too with everything she had been through. I can deal with that. Yen can deal with that. I mean, but we play music, and my mom showed me how to dance like this, and um, we have her pictures. All the pictures I sent you, they're in the kitchen. These guys, I watch my dad and my brother every day. They're eating. They're always staring up at the pictures, looking at mom. We play music loud, and I turn up the music, and I say, "Remember when the cops would go by and say lower that?" And my mom's like, "This is my house. We live in Niantic. Move on. I'll play the music as loud as I want." My mom had a lot of spirit. She didn't take no shit,
Mm.
and so and if I go to church. I went into this. I went into the heart. Remember, I told you if I give donuts, the neighbor said, "Hey, your mom would have done that." Or if I help a neighbor over here, she said, "Your mom was the first one to welcome us when we moved to the neighborhood." The other day, I went into Cash True Value, and somebody says, are you Jan Siccone's son? You look just like her. She used to come in here every day and make us laugh. So my mom touched a lot of people.
Wow. Yeah. And I know that telling her story now is going to reach thousands and hopefully over a million now for more people to tell their story like yours. Mike,
Yeah, that's one reason I tell the stories because I want to encourage other people. You got to speak up for your loved one. You got to, whether you want to speak or not. You got to speak up for your loved one in their honor. Tell their story so that when they're looking down on you, they can say, "That's my son. He talked about me. He valued me and he loved me."
powerful. That's really powerful. We like to ask, just to remember your mom, leaving here a little on a happy note, if you could share with us one of your favorite memories with your mom or of your mom. Is there something that when you think about her, what's your favorite time together or a particular memory?
Uh, Hang on. You know what? I might even be able to send it to you. Hang on a second. You know, my mom my mom loved swimming, and my mom loved the beach, and I wish I could find it. Anyway, um one of my things is when I'll send you the picture. She took us to the beach. She used to take us to McCook's Beach. I got it. I'm sending you the picture right now.
Okay.
Um oh man. Hey Yen, you're killing me with this phone, Yen. It's her it's her
That's okay.
alarm.
We'll add the photo. We can add the photo up on our website. That's no worries at all. That's fine. If you send it after, that's no problem at all.
Hang on. I should be able to do it. What did I save your name under? Matt Yen, your alarm's going off. It's killing me. What, what was it? I'm going to put C, right? CI?
Yeah, CIC,
I got
exactly.
it. I just sent it to you. Check it out. I
Oh,
just
good.
sent, listen, you're going to love this. I just sent you the picture. And remember, I told you I was that skinny kid with asthma.
There it is. Yeah,
Listen,
let's.
I see how I'm wheezing on the right, skinny wheezing kid wheezing with asthma, and that's my mom. 1972. I was 11 and my brother was 13, and that's my mama C taking us to McCook's Beat.
let me let me pull it up on the screen, and just for our viewers for just a moment here, everybody. We're going to share a photo here. One of Mike's favorite memories of his mom. Just a moment here.
You see how proud she was, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Here we go. Now I can pull it up. Just a moment. All right, I'm gonna remove one and then add that one. So give me just a second here.
That's okay. You take your time.
Good. Yeah, here we go. Here we go. There it is. We got your phone, but that's okay. We can see if everybody can see. Let me see if I can make it even bigger here. I don't know if I could. Yeah, maybe that. Can everybody see that? We have that. What beach was that, Mike?
McCook's Beach in East Lyme.
Okay, and the most important part about that day was it just because she was so proud. You just think about your mom and she was so proud. Yeah.
She was a lot of fun. She took us everywhere.
Yeah.
Swimming, Yankee Stadium, the Bronx Zoo, church, the block party. She'd cook and she'd be fun. Um, she liked to make people laugh. She was a lot of fun.
That's good, Mike. I think I lost your image there, but maybe
Oh,
we'll
I'm
have you
sorry.
back.
I'm playing. I'm sorry. I was trying to. You got me. I sent you another picture of me and the dog because you wanted me to send you a picture of me and or my mom, and I was looking for more pictures.
That's okay. We'll be happy to put those up on our website.
I was getting lost. Yeah, I
But
was getting lost in
no,
the phone.
No, that's okay. I'm so glad that you shared this. Again, it's just another tragedy. We just wanted to thank you for joining us and having the courage to come on this podcast. We're gonna help spread this across the nation. Everybody who's watching this now, please share this story. Help it reach far and wide. We need to collect those 1.6 million and get them as well, because this should never happen. You're gonna see if you have your story of your own. We're asking you to visit our website, betrayalprojectusa.org. Submit your story there. You'll have an interview with someone like me to reach out. One of our volunteers will schedule an interview and walk through it as well and help you prepare for that. Please help share these and raise awareness of what's actually happening in our hospitals, and to help us get accountability so that these terrible crimes never happen again to people like Mike and his family. But again, Mike, thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to go ahead, and you'll see this up on our website in just a few days. If you share this with all your family members and help us to get this circulated. Again, thank you everybody for joining. Thank you.